Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of From the District with State Senator Suzanne Weber, who is not here. Yes, my friends, the inmates have taken over the asylum. I am here, as you can see in my virtual Christmas background, with the Senator's Chief of Staff, Katy Pritchard. If you have called or emailed Senator Weber's office, you have talked to this lady. Katy, how the hell are you?
I am good. It's good to be on and give the boss a little bit of a break. And you couldn't have described it better. We've been let loose.
Yeah, so the boss is on vacation. She went to go visit her. As we're doing this, it is like December 21st. So we thought this is a great time to do this because we don't have a whole lot to talk about because everybody's on vacation.
That's right.
And we just thought this is a great time to talk about the sausage making process, talk about the people that are actually doing some of the work you don't see. Because I think one of the conversations we have a lot is I wish people understood this. I wish people understood that when they email something, it isn't helping, or when they email something else, it's really helping. But I digress. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves. But Katy, give me a little background of you. You are a native of the district, yes, of District 16.
I am. Yeah. So I'll just throw it out there. I was not born here. I was born in Cottage Grove. My mom came all the way down from Alaska with my dad. I was almost born on the Taku ferry, but she wanted to have me. I was like, wow, okay. She wanted to have me in Cottage Grove. My dad was a logger and logged in Alaska and in Oregon. And so at a very young age, we moved to Nehalem. So I'm a native of both Tillamook County and Clatsop County. We lived there while I was young, and my father sadly passed away working in the woods as a logger on Humbug. So I wave to him as I go down 26 every time, and my mom always did too. And so, he's definitely there watching over us and other loggers as well. And so then we moved to Astoria, and I have been here ever since. So this is my home, my real, natural home, even though I spent 20 years in the military. I did that here locally, but was able to travel with the military, but make this the place that I raised my kids and my home base to call it something. And I did that by choice because I really, really loved it. And it was just where we belonged. And it was a great place to raise children and be, still part of our natural resource community. My brother was a fisherman most of his life. My father did that as well, but predominantly was a logger. And so that raised us. And I like to tell people this because it's kind of funny, but I look at my upbringing as like I was raised by a cross between hippies and bikers, and but it was like before it was cool. Like we had to recycle. My mom would make us rinse out the cans and separate everything, and we shopped at the Goodwill partially because of the money, but also because it's consumable stuff. Like why buy new stuff when there's perfectly good stuff? So so that was how I was raised, was to appreciate what we had. So I don't know.
Right. Well, that's one thing about Senator Weber's office. You get nothing but natives in the office, with the exception of the boss. But I mean, she's been there, what?
Don't tell her
years?
this. Yeah, sometimes I say she's been here longer than I have because it's true.
Yeah. Me too.
Don't tell her
Me
that.
Too. Her birthday's coming up, by the way. Remember that? Like in 2 days.
Oh, yay. We get to mess with her Facebook page again.
Yes, we do, which is my favorite part of her birthday. So that you had a wonderful you give us a wonderful story of growing up, being part of the Astoria community. How did you end up doing this? You were a recruiter from the military, right?
I was, yeah. So I
recruited in the military.
How did this happen? Well, so I did a lot of things for the military, but my natural fit was really just part of just taking care of problems and people. And
you're a good fit then. because we got lots of problems.
Yeah. So this fell naturally, and I joke with people that I literally fell into this job. It wasn't a job I meant to get. I had retired in 2018 from the Army National Guard. I was full time, active duty with them. So I was ready to kind of be done for a bit as far as taking care of others in the community and all the things. However, that was not the plan, as for the first time in my adult life, I was able to be involved in political stuff. Mostly because even if I was out of uniform in the military, I couldn't talk about politics without it being seen as a representation of, the military opinion or influencing young soldiers. And that just is absolutely inappropriate. So I stayed out of that stuff, didn't really talk about my opinions in that way. But once I retired, I realized what a bad example of a representative we had currently for our district.
That was tough too, because before her we had Debbie Boone.
Yeah, for years and years.
Debbie and I disagreed on a lot of things. I'm sure you and Debbie disagreed on a lot of things, but I never had a concern that she was misrepresenting the community. I thought she was probably a little more left leaning than the community was, but not like. Yeah, I look at our community like a box, and there's a line down the middle, and there's some people who are on the left, there's some people on the right, but as long as you're in the box, you're a good representative of the community. She wasn't even in the factory that the box was being made in. I'm sure she was a lovely person. I didn't know her personally.
Right.
Just politically, she didn't fit the district well.
Right.
She hadn't lived there hadn't lived there very long.
No, Tiffany Mitchell, it's hard to even, my lips saying her name are like, I'm sure she was a nice person. But absolutely, I felt that she was the wrong fit to represent the diversity that is, my county particularly, but also Tillamook County, because that was our district for the House district,
Okay.
And prior to that, I had no problem with, Debbie Boone. And of course we had Betsy Johnson. And I really thought we had pretty decent representation for our community at large. Like some views were a little different than mine and some were the same, but for the most part, we kind of fell, I felt like they were taking care of our community. But when it came to Tiffany Mitchell, everybody was like, what is happening? And she just wasn't a good fit. And she was very new to the area. And then she was leaving anyway. So when I got involved was because it was a matter of helping someone fill that spot that would do better. And if it wasn't going to be me, and I wasn't ready for something like that in my life, who was that person? And when I met Suzanne Weber, actually, and I met Adam, I just knew that Suzanne was a person that I could get behind. And I tell this story a little bit like being in the Army Guard, being a recruiter. I was a good, successful recruiter because I really believed in what we had for, it was what I was doing to help young people find their career choice, if that was the right choice for them. If it wasn't, I would help them find something different. It didn't have to be what I had. And I felt that way about Suzanne, as far as I really believe who she is, represents us. And she is a person that will go to bat for our community. So I wouldn't have gotten behind her if I didn't really, really believe in her. And I just, so she was great. And I thought, yay, let's volunteer and let's help. And pretty soon, and here I am. What happened? Right. I was retired.
Well, let me tell you what happened. I was working in Tillamook County. I had a business there. And, but I was also on the city council. Mm-hmm. And so, when you're in public office, people start calling around and saying, hey, do you know anybody who is interested in running for the seat? It's one we think we could really get. And we kind of racked our minds and thought, and I said, the person I think would be the best, just the best fit for the district. I don't think anybody knows who she's even a Republican, would be the mayor of Tillamook, Suzanne Weber. And I'd known Suzanne literally since I was a little boy. We'd gone to church together and so they said, would you talk to her about it? I said, why? Yeah, I'd chat with her. So I talked to her, and she didn't say no. Mm-hmm. And I talked to her some more, and she didn't say no. But she also didn't say yes. So I started thinking, okay, we got to maybe a full court press. And so I talked to some people, and one person said, you got to call this lady up in Clatsop County, Katie Pritchard. So she's really active, really, really active. You can get her on the horn and see if you could get her to help. So that's what we did. And so we called Katie. Katie and I, we went and had a beer at the Manzanita Lighthouse.
We did, yeah.
And devised our strategy. And the rest is history. And we finally got her. Gosh, I think we met at my office.
We did, yeah.
Manzanita area. And there was like the House whip and like some big money donors and just all gathered around and said, what is it going to take for you to say yes to this?
Right.
I think finally, like 2 weeks later, she said yes.
I remember leaving, that meeting and going, she didn't say yes, but I felt good about it. She's almost there. And, but you know what I appreciated about Suzanne even then was her willingness. Well, I don't know if I call it willingness, but her ability to say, hey, I'm not willing to give you an answer until I am 100% committed. Mm-hmm. And I respected that so much because people a lot of times jump in and say, hey, I got this, I'm going to do this. And they don't know, they aren't looking at the extent of what that's going to do to their life, what the job really entails, not just the campaigning, but, then you win. Oh my gosh, now what, right? So I really, really respected that when we left that meeting that day, I thought, I really hope she says yes, but I get it, and she did. She wanted to talk to her family and because everybody is impacted, So
she was mayor, and she hadn't lost her husband that long. I mean, mm-hmm. Tom passed away. Her husband Tom passed away in I think 2017, 2018. So he hadn't gone long. So I mean, she'd had a lot of life changes.
Yeah.
So I did too. I respected that a lot. Between getting pissed off at her not responding and
yes, we sometimes still do that though. Sometimes we're like, okay, boss, where are you?
Yeah,
talk to us.
Gotta have an answer here. Have an answer.
I need an answer. I really need an answer.
She did get there, and then that was January. It was January 2020.
Yeah.
Something happened.
Oh boy, we did a campaign during COVID, didn't we? That was wild. Woo!
I've never done anything like it.
That was.
And I've run campaigns before, and I had never done anything like it. And I didn't. I mean, we were flying by the seat of our pants because we couldn't knock doors. Right. So you can't knock doors.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, you're just relying totally on phone calls. We didn't know. We did like the last. I think like the day before they did the shutdown, we did a big fundraiser. So
we did our last one in at Astoria Brewing Company. Yeah. Before they had to shut down, and
we can only do like 2 in-person fundraisers.
Yeah. And we still did we did a great job. And that's partially, I like to say that we are this team, Suzanne is wonderful, and that and together you and I represent our community so well, and all three of us are pretty diverse. Like we have similar views and beliefs, and we run together in that, but we all come from different businesses. And she being a teacher, you in real estate, me in the military and the fishing and farming and forestry, stuff, and with Tom being truck driver and fire department. There's so much stuff going on. With the three of us, I think we represent a very good sector, a large sector of our district. So it works well. It really works well.
I'll tell you, the campaign was one of the most stressful things I've ever done. I mean, it was at the time, and I think it may have gotten supplanted by a campaign in 2022, but
maybe
it was the most expensive Oregon legislative race in history.
Yeah, that was wild.
And it was wild. I mean, we were lighting money on fire every which way.
Yeah,
and we got to the point that there was no more TV to buy.
Yeah,
there was just no more.
Right,
we bought it all.
Sad, that was the thing. It was such a weird battle to be having with people that weren't from here, that didn't care. I mean, it just was weird and off-putting in a lot of ways. I remember having a conversation with Suzanne towards the end where she's just like, enough, this is insane. In the sense of just, this is me, this is who I am. But getting that, the sad part about campaigning is getting that message out about who a person is. It does take that kind of money, I mean, it just does.
Yeah.
You can't reach people without the money to show those ads, or
it's kind of mutually assured destruction, right? I mean, yeah, we're going to spend $1 million because we know they're going to spend $1 million. If they stop spending, we'll stop spending, but we can't be the first ones.
Right.
And so this was the campaign. That was the house, the seat that everybody decided they were going to they were going to go to the mat on.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most stressful things I've ever done. And I thoroughly enjoyed our text threads, our campaign text threads.
Yeah.
Man, I have a tiger, mouth of a teamster.
Right.
That's how we operated.
That was it. I want to say this is kind of funny. I mean, just in light of over the last year. So it's been a few years now, right? We're a few years in. We did the House, and then of course, Betsy decided to run for governor. Suzanne said, "Hey, I'm going to go ahead." I don't know that we would have that quickly, but it happened. As far as her ready to run for Senate. If Betsy hadn't decided to move on yet.
I don't think we would. I mean, obviously we haven't had this conversation with Suzanne.
Yeah.
But she would never have run against Betsy.
Right. Yeah. If Betsy had decided to retire or something, we would have probably moved her.
But I mean, I think I kind of, honestly, not having this conversation with either of them, I kind of figured they'd kind of probably end about the same time.
Right. Yeah. They were such a good team, I mean, as far as,
right.
We were kind of back to that. I don't know. I felt like we had a good team going for our districts, for our Senate and our House. I want to say, though, recently in the last year, we've had to deal with some issues with Sunset Empire District and some things. And we have had the opportunity to work with who then was her opponent in the run for the House representative, which was Debbie Booth Schmidt. We've had a really good, I think it was a good experience working with Debbie in the last year to help her through the situation that they experienced with Sunset Empire, Transportation District. Normally, obviously senator is a state senator, and she's very clear whether it's about schools or local city issues she's very clear about local control and local stuff, that's their business. She's not going to, step into their wheelhouse necessarily, but there's times where the state needs to come in and help, and Debbie had called on her, and I got to give Debbie credit for that, calling and saying, hey, between the two of them, they worked really well together after being opponents. And that just is, I don't know if you call it good sportsmanship or being a good statesman. I think
there was a lot of healing there. I mean, we were just kind of bad mouthing Tiffany Mitchell, and that was wrong on us. Shouldn't do that. But it's hard to remember, especially during the heat of battle, and even after that. These are people.
Yeah,
I mean, we see people badmouth Suzanne. We see people from her party badmouth Suzanne. And it's frustrating because, look, if you disagree, that's fine. But the character attacks,
right?
Suzanne's a real person with real feelings, and it's really, for me, maybe I'm just a little defensive because we've been a team for so long. It's really frustrating when there's character attacks.
Yeah, it is.
And you know what? We did those. I did those, and I didn't like it. But again, it was war. And in the heat of battle, you do stuff that you don't like to win. And we probably did some of that. They did a lot of it. I'll say that. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, really, you're right. I think there was a lot of healing.
Yeah.
In what happened there, because I get the feeling maybe Debbie didn't like Suzanne very much for a while after that.
Right. But I think what happened is it showed what a good representative state senator we had in our community here, because that whole debacle with, Sunset Empire District, Transportation District was a huge, huge thing in this town, in this county. I mean, so many people were impacted. And here's a person who, could have, a lesser person might have snubbed that due to a previous, campaign or whatever. And it wasn't that. It was healing to have someone like Suzanne say, absolutely, let's go, let's call the governor, let's get things going, let's make this happen, and do everything she could to help the community I live in, and the people that use that transportation. And and it just turned out, and now, we hear from Debbie on different issues. And I think it was a big healing moment to say, hey, look, Suzanne is not, whatever mean Republican thoughts or whatever that is, she's not that, whatever that is, she's a human being who genuinely cares about the people who live here in our communities, and whoever she has to talk to and whoever she has to, sit next to help us, she will, even if it might be slightly uncomfortable at first,
I will say, I know we're bouncing around a little bit, but I don't care. Before you were chief of staff, I was chief of staff in the House. And one thing I will say is, with some notable exceptions who will not be named, legislators are actually pretty darn good people. Democrat, Republican, they are doing what they think is best. A lot of them, I do not think it is best, and I think they are wrong.
Right, I agree, but I agree with you. They're not nefarious. They're not out to hurt other people. I think that a lot of times we have the same goal in mind, and a lot of business ideas and things. It's just how we get there is what we might disagree with. Where I feel like certain things are going to be destructive to my community. Either they're like, no, this is the right way, and but it's not because they're mean or they're it's like we just did have different opinions, and
it's wrong.
Yeah,
you could be wrong, and it's wrong, right? And you can be wrong and nice.
Yeah,
exactly. Again, I guess there are a few of them there that are wrong and not nice. So don't get me wrong. But I remember when Mike Neerman got expelled, Representative Neerman, and it was unanimous. Yeah, except for Mike Neerman, he voted no.
Right.
But I remember when he got expelled, and even the most conservative Republicans voted to expel him. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I remember, and there were protesters going into the garage. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Where the legislators park. And I remember Ricky Ruiz making sure that Suzanne got to her car okay.
Right? I remember that. It really makes me great because I was our bosses. Yeah.
I called her because I was still in that building trying to figure out how the hell I was going to get out. Right. And I called her and said, "Are you on the road? You okay?" And she told me that story. Like, gosh, that's good. That was good. It made me feel like, okay, there's some good people on the other side, even though they're just wrong.
They could be wrong and still be good people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's true, because that is the stuff. Like, there's stuff that goes on. The building. I didn't know this until now being there and realizing, like, a lot of it. There's just so many things happening and so many different. There's so many topics to tackle, and some of them are intermingled. There's so much happening, and it's people like that. Like, when Representative Ruiz, made sure that Suzanne was able to get out of there okay and safely. It brings the humanity back to it. Like
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of humanity that day, and I think there's a lot of humanity within that group, and that could be broken a lot. Obviously, I think the 2023 session, there was a lot of broken relationships there. But that happens. Yeah. That happens, right? But so we went from the House. Mm-hmm. And then I went to the Senate. It's been different.
Yes.
It's been different. For one, we have people in the building.
Right.
The House, we were only in the House one term.
Yeah.
And there were people.
Yeah, it was so weird in the House. And then, and it was smaller, obviously. We have smaller spaces. But then we go over to the Senate and you have double the space, and now there's people and there's lobbyists and there's groups that come around because it's like, oh yeah, we're open. And it's different, and it's I don't know. It's different and the same. I know that sounds weird, but it's I will say, being on the Senate side, we literally doubled our constituency with no more budget, no more we got extra space.
Right. We didn't need more money.
Yeah, we didn't get people to fill it because, but so, the workload is similar, but more, just because you have more people, with problems that they need help with, whether it's people with unemployment issues, dealing with land use stuff, or emergency services situations, or roads, Oregon Department of Transportation, all kinds of things that people genuinely, when they reach us, and this is why I guess my former, career made sense to this, is when someone would reach my office, it meant they'd tried all the other things. And if they got to Sergeant Pritchard with a problem, like I haven't been paid for this long or something, it was like, you got to be kidding me. What is happening? Right. So that, I'd fix this problem, but they'd already gone through all these steps. And I feel like that's what our constituents have done in many cases, is they, they asked for, paid leave, for instance, and it's been months. And now literally the surgery they've gone out on, they're already recovered from and almost going back to work. And they have been no money the whole time, when Oregon said, hey, we're doing this program. And anyway, the point being, that they have finally reached our desk, the senator's office, and that's where I am to help them find a way forward. So it fit from my previous, job. And but with that, I guess where I was going is, we have doubled the number of those people, and it's a lot sometimes, where there's, when Oregon has these wonderful programs, but they are so broken, that comes through the senator's offices, through not just ours, but all over the state. So kind of crazy.
It's the way the budgets work is every member has a session budget, which is for the long session. So that's 6 months, usually January 1 or January 7 or so. It's when the organizational time, when the members are sworn in, until sine die, which is usually end of June.
Right.
So that's one budget. And then they have another budget that is for the next 18 months, which includes the short session. And the way they do it is the legislature appropriates the amount of money and divides it by 90.
Right.
So 60 House members and 30 Senate members, even though the 30 Senate members have twice as many constituents, they have the same budget. And you can do pretty much whatever you want with that money. You can hire the staff. You buy pencils.
Right. Pay for office space or whatever.
One thing we did once, and I think my second time around, I kiboshed it because I decided it was a giant waste of money, was the little mailers.
We had an office, didn't we, for a while? No, I don't remember.
Well, we had an office, but we paid for that.
Yeah.
That was our campaign funds. But was the mailer that we said of all the things we did,
$20,000.
Yeah, it was like $20,000.
Yeah. So if you were in our district, and I got one, Adam got one.
Everybody told us to do it. All the Republicans told us to do it.
$20,000, you guys.
That was the first year, and we said, okay, we'll do it. Because God and everybody told us we needed to do it to make sure everybody knew what we were doing. Like,
right.
There are better ways.
Yeah.
That aren't maybe it was like 10,000 or 12,000, but the second it was going to be 20,000 when we did it if we did it in the Senate, and we said no, we're not going to do it in the Senate. That's just look. We can find other uses of that money.
Exactly. I would rather be able to keep us on staff to deal with all these problems for a constituent, to help people with whatever, or to help a senator with the meetings and the scheduling, than to pay for a darn mail out that just, anymore. It's people are going to look for it themselves, or we can publish more information on Facebook and social media and YouTube and do these. Like Senator does these. Right. You guys, we all.
They're free.
For free.
It costs no money.
I will say we pay for our, our subscription for our Google subscription, I guess, might be something. But
it costs $140 a year.
Yeah, comparatively, here we are. And and honestly, it was really great because, so what I do is, when you guys all see Adam and Suzanne on screen, I get the recording and I go ahead and add, Martin's moments, of course, because we always, we get to hear Martin barking sometimes. And I'll add when Adam gives us phone numbers, I make sure y'all see him on the screen. And
when Adam swears, you beep it out.
Get the bleep, yeah. So I take care of all those. But what I really like about those is as I'm watching them and there's issues going on, and I see all these emails or I see things going on, I'm able to use Suzanne's own voice, her own clips from her videos to answer people direct when it's a very specific topic, whether, you know, I don't know, about unemployment or about when COVID was going on or whatever. The videos to me are so much more personal to a person. Or if we get a bunch of emails, we often tell Senator, hey, this is what's on people's minds. And then you guys talk about it. So it's a way that people can actually hear from her very own mouth. This is what I think about this, you know, instead of it being, you know, Katie's just is telling you stuff or Adam's telling you stuff. You get to actually watch Suzanne answer your question. And so I love it because I clip those and, you know, email them to people whenever, you know, they're just great ways to answer questions. But
well, the newsletters I think are huge too. And I remember our first session, and Suzanne was running for the Senate and was in a candidate forum, and somebody said, you know, you really need to work on your newsletters. There's not enough stuff there. And it was like, okay, hold my beer.
Yeah,
now they come with like a table of contents.
Yes, literally. I'm like, the boss is like, nope, not enough. And so what she does, this is funny, like as we're putting it together, she'll start texting us stuff, right? You know, Adam gets it, we all get these, but she's like, oh wait, here's this other thing, and here's this other thing. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Yeah. And then 20 pages later.
We do have to tell her, okay, look, stop.
Yeah, at some point we cut it off. Yeah,
you did a
we
lot
can
of
have
stuff.
that for next month.
Yeah. And a lot of it is just saying, here's what she's done. Here's where she's at. But also, here are some things you need to know about what your government is doing and how it affects you. Absolutely. And whether it's issues around some things around DEQ or the Habitat Conservation Plan that is all in the news right now. Making sure that people can actually engage in their government. One thing, you know, I hated COVID. We all hated COVID. I mean, may we never speak of it again. But one of the great things that did come out of it was virtual testimony.
Absolutely.
Demonstrations was, especially as we got towards the end of the session and the speaker and the Senate president declared sine die imminent.
Yeah.
They could post a meeting and have it in 2 hours.
Right. And nobody from here could get there for testimony, you know, from Astoria at least, or Scappoose, or
no, God forbid somebody try to take a day off, or a farmer try to get out of a barn to do something like that. Right. They couldn't do that, but now they can step out, they can testify virtually. That was huge. And I'm being able to tell people, go do that, or here's some bills that you need to know about. Here's their hearing dates. At least send an email about them, right?
Right, yeah.
Those are huge, and I think that's what we've really been able to utilize these videos, utilize the newsletter, and it's a heck of a lot more effective than some $10,000, $15,000 mailer after everything's been done.
Yeah.
To tell you,
too late to do anything about
it. Aren't I amazing? Please reelect me. Because really, that's what these are, right? I mean, and it's really frustrating, quite honestly. And that's why we stopped doing them, and they tell us to do them, and we just said, no,
not
go to hell. We're not going to do that. It's a total waste of money. And for those people who do use it and think it's a great tool for their constituents,
sure,
maybe it is
good for, you know, it's good for them, you know, but we're just different. You know,
and you know, we're probably the majority leaders or the minority leaders probably call and fire everybody over this.
We're in such big trouble. But you know what? It goes to show, it's something that has been on my mind lately too about other things, but like it's the same thing with bills. Some things work for the I-5 corridor, or for Eastern Oregon, or for Southern Oregon, or the southern coast of Oregon. And some things work for, you know, the north coast of Oregon that don't work for the rural or the urban areas in Portland. You know, I like that we get to make that choice with our boss to say, hey, you know, we don't think this is great. And people, you know, and, you know, we could do a limited run even maybe for people that if we knew somebody must have it by paper, I don't know, but
hey, you know, you bet you want that.
Yeah.
If anybody wants that, who's listening to this, email us.
Yeah,
we will get you a list of the bills at the end of the session that we think were important. It won't be glossy. It won't have Suzanne's picture on it, but you'll have the information.
Yeah, I will personally mail it or drop it off.
Cheaper It'll be a hell of a lot cheaper than what we would have sent you, and probably give you more information.
Yeah, absolutely.
What? Here's a fun question. You could tell. So everybody, like I said, if you're writing or calling into the office, whether it's the district office or the legislative office in Salem, you're probably talking or communicating with Katy. If you could tell everyone, which you're doing right now, one piece of advice to help you help them, what would it be?
Oh,
we haven't heard this either, so this is a really unfair thing for me to do, but I'm doing it here.
I will tell you what would help me help you in your problem, keeping in mind, constituents, usually you're coming to me with.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Suzanne gets involved. She knows everything that's going on, but she's one person. Most of the legwork around fixing the problems is done by Katy. So she's not going to like me saying that, but I'm saying it.
But I will tell you, so what happens, it's kind of like I was saying about my old job. When it gets to my desk, it's, I'm a fixer. If it gets to Suzanne's desk, now we've gone the nuclear option. Somebody's
probably getting fired.
Yeah, when it reaches that point, she's like, get so-and-so on a meeting with me now. Okay. And so that's where we're going. But so let's frame this with number one. Usually when a person reaches out, they have a problem. And so they're bringing their problem to us. And so to help, and I want to help with that. Senator wants to help with that. Adam wants to help with that. Of course, we want to fix whatever that is as best we can from this office. But I can't do that nearly as effectively without a phone number that tells me how to get a hold of you. Also, I really love it. You don't have to give me your address. But I'll tell you what, if you send an email to the senator and it says, I have this problem with my concealed carry permit or my my unemployment check isn't coming, My name is Katy Pritchard and I live in Astoria, Oregon. Thank you for that. Because of the hundreds of emails we get every day, and I'm not joking, I'd say maybe 10% of those, maybe not even that, are the important ones. So I call it categorizing, but moving the ones that are not as important out of the way so I can get to yours. And if yours doesn't say Scappoose, Oregon, Tillamook, Banks, North Plains, Astoria, Warrenton, whatever, you are easily getting shoved over to the side with ones that come from where we don't know. It could be out of the country, it could be out of the state, it could just be Salem. And those people matter too. But I'm going to be absolutely honest with you, and this actually irritates some people, but you matter more to me. If you live in Senate District 16, your voice matters more to me than someone in Salem or Portland or somewhere else. And that's just the way it should be. This is who we represent. So if you can tell me where you're from, that is the first step.
If you're not from Senate District 16, there's a good chance we don't know as much about you and your community and your problem as your representative does. So if you really want to reach out to us about this, about your issue, that's cool. But if you can tell us where you're from, we can hook you up with your actual representative to fix the problem. Now, if you're writing about a problem that maybe it's a political issue and a Democrat, you're represented by a Democrat, and they're not so keen to help you on that one, okay, we get that. And there's probably Democrats who do the same thing or on the other side, right? But for most of your issues, you really want to work with your local representatives because they represent you.
Yeah.
And tell us where you're from.
And Adam pointed out something that it does happen often because those people, they got put in the category of right now because I saw, they're like, oh, I'm from, I don't know, Springfield, or I'm from Salem or whatever. But because they at least take the time to tell me where they're from, they're a lot more likely to get the read through the email to see, okay, what is going on? What's happening with this person? How can I assist to get them? And honestly, if there's an address, I plug it into the legislative finder and I find their actual people from federal all the way down. And I'm like, and I think about it. I don't just throw you these addresses. I literally think about it and go, okay, this problem has more to do with, state stuff. Here's your state representative. Here's your so-and-so. And I might even look up who their chief of staff is and ping them on the cell phone and say, hey, can you help this person out? A good example, actually, this just happened yesterday. And I called the guy, but I recognized the 812 number. So I knew if you're local, you know that 812 is the Tillamook area. But, we carry our cell phones throughout the country now when we move, so I didn't know for sure. So I called him. And it was an issue that was a federal issue. I knew that this isn't something I can help with. And so I was going to bounce that to the other, Senator or Congresswoman Bonamici, the other Suzanne is what I say. But before I did that, I had to call him and say, hey, are you actually a Tillamook County resident? I'm assuming that, but I only know that by your phone number. And nobody else would have really realized that unless they're local. And so he learned something at the same time. He was super appreciative that I took the time to stop and call him. Even though I wasn't going to work his issue, I wanted to make sure that I was passing it to the right representative to take care of it. And if it hadn't been, the delays that happen in fixing his issue would just be one more day here and one more day there before they figure out who does this person go to, know. So help me help you by clear and concise, like who am I, where am I from, and how do I contact you? That's really the biggest stuff, and keep it, keep it simple, stupid. You can usually tell me in the first paragraph what is going on, what's happening, and then I can ask the questions I need to ask from there. So
chances are, if you have a problem of any level of sophistication, it's going to require a phone call.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're easy and they're simple fix, and we can just a quick email and we can deal with it. If you are calling your legislator with a problem, chances are it's not super simple.
Yeah.
It probably is somewhat complex. So conversation is probably going to need to be had. So phone call, phone number and address. And Suzanne and I kind of pound this along during the
every single,
But it seemed like I knew exactly what I asked. That's what you were going to say.
Right.
We did not plan that. So one other question that I did tell you I was going to ask.
Dang it, I thought we were getting away from it.
No, I know. We've been at this for like 45 minutes.
My connection's going. Sorry.
No. Suzanne is not going to be in the legislature forever. People, when I was her chief of staff, or even when I was a city councilor in Tillamook, I got this question all the time too. You've learned a lot. You've met a lot of people. Would you ever consider running? And maybe not only, I'll throw this out, maybe not just for the legislature, but would you ever consider running for city council? You live in the city of Astoria.
Right.
Would you ever run for county commissioner or school board? Or you won't be at this job forever, most likely. What's your next step?
Well, Adam, let me tell you. I have learned a lot.
She didn't answer this question when I told her I was going to ask it. So this is new to me. We're all learning things together here.
It's a learning curve, literally. That's part of how I met Susanna and you, as people had asked, hey, you should run. You care about your community. You're this, that, and the other. And I thought, when I met Suzanne, I looked at Suzanne and I thought, this is who I want to be with more experience under my belt. I want to be this person. And that's amazing to see somebody and go, I want to have this mentor in my life.
I want to be her when I grow up.
Yeah. And I hate, she's obviously older than I am. But I want to be as capable as her, and still involved in my community. And so I guess the answer is yes, in some capacity, maybe. But I think it's really hard watching what she goes through. It's really hard for me because as you also have said, we're defensive of her. I care deeply for Suzanne, as you do. And to see the beating she takes from people from both parties, this is definitely bipartisan beatings. It's really difficult because we know how hard that woman works. I have literally told her, you got to stop working so hard. I can't keep up with you, because I'm like scheduling her for all the things she tells me to make sure and I'm just like, oh my gosh, but she works so hard and we work so hard for this community. And so, I guess the moral to this story is don't beat up on your senator.
Yeah.
But the other part of that is I think her age possibly, or her experience, has given her a thicker skin than I have yet. And I hope to get there where I am capable of taking the beatings she does for her community. But I guess I want that to be a cautionary tale too, folks. If you hate it, then jump in the ring and become involved, because instead of beating up people for not doing what you want them to do very specifically, then become involved, be part of it. Or realize that and quit beating people up that are working for you.
Yeah, we used to, when I was working in my trade organization, we used to joke as we were recruiting, trying to get people to run. So if we were being honest about this, when we were doing recruiting calls, we would say, okay, you're going to need a divorce lawyer because your wife is going to leave you. You're going to need a bankruptcy lawyer because they pay you as if it's a part-time job when you're going to be working 80 hours a week. You're going to probably need several doctors because you're going to develop a drinking problem.
Oh yeah.
And you'll need, and a cardiologist is going to be one of those because you're probably going to have a heart attack.
Yep.
It's hard work.
Yeah.
It is. It can be as hard as you make it. Right. That's
true.
Betsy Johnson used to say this all the time, is that you can make this job a full-time job plus, like she did, like Suzanne does, or you can make this I show up during legislative sessions.
Yeah, and a lot of people do that, and I think my fear for me is I see that in Suzanne what I have in myself too, is that it's very difficult for me to half-ass something. Basically, I can't do a job even if it's part-time or even if it's whatever and not do everything everything necessary to do the best I can. And Suzanne's very much that way. And she admittedly, she to a fault sometimes we're like, take a break. But so I think that's my fear sometimes, is to go, hey, this is a big job. And so I don't know. I don't really have a good answer yet, and we still got a little bit of time. We don't know what the boss is going to do. I definitely won't ever abandon the boss for any, I think the work we do together is all way too important. The job of getting some of these things, some of the wins, across the finish line are so important. And so there's that. So I figure I have some more time to keep educating myself.
Yeah, you got at least 3 more years, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Bus will be in office until at least January of 2027.
Yeah.
So we got some time, but I'm glad you're at least thinking of it and have not said no. And I'm glad that we're putting this into a public forum so that I can point lobbyists who are recruiting people
He's
to
like,
this video.
Little did you know this was your recruiting interview.
Yeah, I had one guy who's I'm not gonna say his name because everybody knows who he is, and I said, "Would you ever run for the House?" And he said, "Not while my kids are this age." I said, "Well, when are they going to be?" And he said, "Like 2020 or 2034." So I put it in my calendar to call him in January of 2034 to make sure that he is scheduled to run.
Right, random phone call in 10 years.
Yeah.
That's so
exactly. And that is 100% right. This is, we one of the things that we hear a lot is we don't want to raise legislators' salaries, right? And I get that. But people, when I've been asked, hey, would you ever run? Flat out, I've said, like, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
I've got 5 kids, and my wife is a stay-at-home mom, which is a huge job, but she didn't get paid for it.
Right.
So, like, I could never do it. Like, a good year. So a legislator right now makes $32,000 a year, but then they get a per diem for when they actually are meeting, which I think is like $150 a day. So,
granted, that's when you're away from your home. You're there away from. You get that because you're there. Not
a per diem. FYI, that's a per diem. That is.
That pays.
Give you an apartment.
Yeah.
You've got to find a place to live.
You got to eat and live there.
Yeah, some people will, like, I think Senator Brock Smith brings a trailer.
Yep. So a couple of them have nice travel trailers. Yeah.
One senator owns a house that he rents rooms out to other senators. Right. In the past, some of them just slept in their office.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of them are independently wealthy, and that's great. Sure. You can just rent an apartment. But the folks who represent Portland and Salem and Corvallis and even Eugene, they can drive to work.
Yeah.
Suzanne's very blessed that her daughter lives fairly, within 20 minutes to the Capitol, so she gets to just go visit her daughter during sessions, and I'm sure her daughter loves that, and she loves that. But no, I don't have anybody who would let me stay at their house for 6 months.
Right.
I wouldn't like family that long.
I know, exactly. Well, and it's it is a hard debate because like raising legislative salary, legislator salary, I should say, is I get it, but I also am like, how do you make this not a career for people? But because we don't want career politicians running our state. I mean, maybe there are people that want that. I know none of them that want people to be career politicians. So maybe they're not in my circles. But if you do feel like there should be career politicians, please talk to me. I want to understand. but my point is that so there's this weird price where you have to have someone who's like Suzanne, who has retired or is well enough off, and she's not well off by any means. So please don't take it
retired, right? I mean, she's not going to be doing something else.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, maybe she would. But
like if you had kids that you're raising still, or some grandparents, God forbid their children had some problem or passed away or something, and they're raising their grandchildren. Even dealing with kids, like if you're having to be in Salem, even my kids being college age kids now, it's hard to be away from them, or if they're busy and life's going on, it's just different. And so I sympathize with people that want, the salary to be raised because it could make it impactful. But I don't even know at this point, boy, you'd have to raise it a lot to really make it impactful for someone like you who's a family, you have a family and your wife is working the other half of the family job,
Well, I don't think anybody would elect me anyway. I mean,
I'd go for you.
really vote for me.
Well, I'm just one crazy person, but but in the concept of it, it's like it is hard to find people that if you're working, it's so hard to be involved in the political field, and even in just being involved in knowing what's going on is hard enough. But but it can be done, and I guess that's the thing, is finding people that they want to do it and want to be involved, and even just having the right team is a big part of it too. Like if you don't have a good team to support you and be behind you, it could be way worse.
I have worked I have worked, well, not worked for, but I've worked around amazing legislators who clearly got their staff out of a freaking Cracker Jack box. It's too bad because it is a team. When it's done well, it is a team.
Right.
We're Team Weber, but we're still a team. The boss is the face of it all.
Yep.
But it's the team that's doing the work.
Right.
And we don't have that team as a legislator. And this is a warning to anybody who is thinking about running for the legislature. We got people who think, well, I'm going to run for the legislature and I'm going to hire my wife or my husband who has never been inside of a Capitol, who's maybe not even voted before I ran, as my chief of staff. Boy, that is like, maybe it'll work. Maybe it'll work.
Yeah.
But boy, I've seen it go super bad. I've seen it go super bad because they don't know what's going on, right? Now, I've seen it work really well because what they do have is a really, really good and personal knowledge of the person.
True. Yeah.
Which we've had of her because I've known her for 30 some odd years. And you've just worked so closely with her. We've kind of developed that. Yeah. But staff is so important. It's so important to have that team. Yeah. And I think if anybody has learned, if we've learned anything from this shindig, it's team
Yeah.
is everything. I think we had the same team in the election. We had
Yeah.
two other parts of the team,
Right.
but the band has pretty much stayed together all the way through. Which
Yeah. Yeah, and it has, and I think that's my my advice to anybody, and this goes with any job, but it really, really makes sense. You know, to have a good, well, and if it takes someone like Suzanne, I think too, the loyalty and the ability to, I guess, to inspire us to to continue some of the work we do. I think that speaks to her leadership. It's like in the military having a good commander. There's some commands that you'll follow to the end of the earth, and there's some that you just go, man, that guy is going to run us right off a cliff, and you just you move on as fast as you can. And Suzanne is one of those people. I will follow her to the end of the earth. If that's what she needs me to do. And I think there's other legislators that I'm sure are like that, and I hope they find good staff.
Right. It's hard. I would say if you are a young person who is interested in politics, send your resume into a House or Senate caucus, and you can make a pretty decent career out of this.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. If you like politics and you like policy, if you actually like not just sitting back and wishing things were getting better, but actually fixing problems.
Mm-hmm.
If you're that type of person, this is a really good job to have.
Yeah.
It pays twice as bad. Like a really top line legislative aide can make like almost 3 times as much.
Yeah.
As a member,
as the legislator. Yeah.
Which,
so crazy.
I don't know, but and the caucus. I just saw the Senate president was looking for a chief of staff.
Oh my goodness!
And I think the salary was like $160,000 a year.
Yeah.
So I mean, you could make a pretty darn good living at this. So if you are interested, send your resume.
Yeah.
And everybody's always looking for interns, especially during the session too.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a college student and want to just get in the Capitol and see what it's like, and that way it's you don't have a long-term commitment. You're just there for 6 months.
Yeah. And it's not a bad job. Like it's not what I would have thought either. Being an adult, I call myself an adult, but being an adult who's already had a career, coming into that building and going, oh, this is what they do. In the sense of the staff, it's really, and maybe coming out of the military makes it easy for me, but it's really not that hard work. It's a lot, I want to say people think, I don't know. I guess people think the divisiveness of what's in the media and the world and all this stuff going on is what's happening in those hallways. We just have offices and there's neighbors and our neighbors are a different party and it's okay. And we talk over the small wall there and we've
got beers after work.
Yeah, we share cookies and stuff and
cookie caucus.
We have a cookie caucus. We do. And and it's not always about these crazy policies that people get wrapped around the axle about. It's you're assisting with putting together, presentations and making sure the things are there for the legislator. And you have an opinion sometimes, but it's not, it's not this crazy back and forth that you see in the media a lot. And it is a cool place to work. It really is. So definitely, it's worth a try, and it doesn't mean you're going to be a politician necessarily, you don't have to think like that,
no.
But you definitely can be, involved in making things different and better.
Right.
And, so, yeah.
Well, Katy, you fought me tooth and friggin' nail.
You were going to say that, and here we are. It's an hour.
He said, oh, well, I'm afraid, we may go off the rails. We always go off the rails. What the hell's the point?
Of course we'll go off the rails.
That's what we do. And,
I don't even have to edit any of this.
You have fought me on this for months.
I totally have.
And finally, I said, well, boss is out of town. You need this. So what are we going to do?
He's like, I've got the whole newsletter ready except for this part. So I'm at the end.
I can't help you. We don't have anything. Sorry. Boss is gone.
But you know what's worse? You know why I had to do it? Because the boss keeps adding stuff and I want to send the newsletter, so I have to get it done. There was more coming.
But we did it. And this was fun.
It was fun. And we should do this. We should do it again. We should have our little, let the boss have a break and have a little staff chat for people to know what's going on, behind the scenes. Yeah,
we pulled back the curtain. We opened up the fourth wall. Inmates running the asylum. But you know what? We have a lot of fun.
We
And,
do.
We lose our minds. Adam falls into a profanity-laced tirade fairly regularly, but we have a lot of fun too, and I think we do a lot of good work. So, Katy, thank you very much for doing this. Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to everyone. We will see you in January. We'll do this. We'll do one more with the boss before the session, and then we'll start doing them weekly. The session begins in February. So look for a weekly newsletter. Right? I don't want to.
I think so. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. It might be.
We try. We really try to do a weekly newsletter and weekly.
And 2 weeks.
Only 5 weeks.
Yeah, because it gives us so much stuff for 2 months. I don't know. Kind of depends on what's going on with the legislature, but I think we'll do some fun. I have some ideas that, like this session, even doing some, not live, but we could do some recordings of like what's going on in the office there, or what show off just show people what it's like there. And why not? We could be YouTubers.
Oh yeah. You don't have to work in the legislature. You make millions on YouTube.
Right.
We'll monetize a lot of that. Okay. Well, Katy, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, everyone. Thank you so much for watching us just BS each other for the last 60 minutes. We really appreciate you. Katy, I appreciate you as well. Suzanne, we miss you. Come back soon. And we will catch you next time.